Horror movies just don't get enough love. And sure, now and again, one will pick up some nominations like Get Out or 2024's The Substance. But so often are we reminded that this genre needs a bit more recognition for the great filmmaking it can offer. So today, I want to do my own little award ceremony for the best of horror from 2024. 10 categories, some standard ones, some fun ones, starting with Actor. The nominees are David Dastmalchian in Late Night with the Devil, Kyle Gallner in Strange Darling, and Hugh Grant in Heretic. Nick Cage just missed the cut because I kept bouncing between being scared by him and distracted by his acting choices. But, fully expecting angry comments about this. Dastmalchian does great work portraying the nervousness of this make-it-or-break-it late-night special. Gallner is ferocious, but Hugh Grant takes this one for how measured and ultimately effective he is in Heretic. The subtleties he employs are masterful, giving us the slightest hints that something is wrong, that something malevolent is brewing. Watching him is like a dial slowly being turned. Much of the plot takes place in a couple rooms, and while all three performers elevate the material, it is on Grant that the suspense lies, and he nails every scene, hell, every line of dialogue. This is precise craftsmanship, which is a pretty boring sounding phrase, but the end effect is anything but. Actress. The nominees are Lily Rose Depp in Nosferatu, Nell Tiger-Free in The First Omen, and Demi Moore in The Substance. All three dove into their roles with courage, even frenzy, like all limits have been cast aside. Tiger-Free's terror is palpable. Depp's possessions and contortions are horrific. The winner is Demi Moore, not just for the varying emotions she has to tap into, but making them all feel like realistic reactions. Every note feels genuine. It's worth mentioning how much physically she had to do, but on a larger scale. The fight scene, all the gear she had to wear in the third act, this is hard work. If we're nominating people because they can sing well, or other people because they can't, I think it's fair to acknowledge the physicality of a role. Luckily, in this specific case, the Academy did give a nod to Demi Moore. And to clarify, that doesn't affect any of these awards I'm giving out today. But, it's nice to see. Whatever you may think of this crazy movie, Demi Moore showed up to work and then some. Production design. The nominees are Alien Romulus, Apartment 7A, and Oddity. Apartment 7A, for all its flaws, offers color and class and a creative and fitting dream sequence. The house in Oddity has a personality of its own, with its tight corridors, open spaces, and a verticality that calls back to Ju-on the Grudge. Worst house guest ever. The winner is Alien Romulus. Yes, the fan service in this movie is completely unnecessary, horribly executed, aggressively contrived, and fucktastically stupid. And part of the reason it stings so hard is because it actively distracts from the strong production design. The original Alien will always reign supreme as far as the art department in this series, but Romulus did it justice, recreating not just specific elements, but ensuring that the vibe was intact. The design team also had to incorporate more larger open areas, while also adapting to the new yellow, orange, and red color scheme. Lastly, there's a simple fact that it looks great. Nothing looks like a set, and it's easy to believe that the various rooms and instrumentation serve a purpose rather than just being window dressing. Nicely done. Biggest disappointment. Look, I think some constructive criticism is important, even when celebrating art. How much better would the Oscars be if we acknowledged the garbage pumped into theaters? Or hand out a statue for worst Oscar host that Jimmy Kimmel and James Franco could fight over? But instead of slamming the obviously terrible, let's go through films that had all the opportunities to do something great and fell so short. The nominees are Apartment 7A, Maxine, and Stop Motion. Apartment 7A acts as a prequel to Rosemary's Baby and starts off well enough, but either got scared or bored and settled with a copy and paste approach. Maxine is an unfocused mess of ideas and finishes the trilogy with a whimper and finishes the film itself with an even wimpier whimper. And of course, there's Stop Motion, a film that combined live action with stop motion animation and somehow managed to make it boring. And the winner is stop motion. Yes, Maxine was a bummer, but this concept is a shoo-in. Live action horror with gooey stop motion. It writes itself. But instead, we got an uninteresting protagonist, an annoying child, an insipid plot, and a pace that gets lapped by glaciers. The designs are effectively unnerving, and that is exactly what makes this such a painful missed opportunity. Score. Probably the most unawarded of any category for the horror genre is music. Think of Midsommar, It Follows, Sinister, Suspiria 2018, Mandy. I mean, wow. None of those got nominated. Okay. The nominees are The First Omen, Longlegs, and The Substance. These three aren't only the best in my opinion, although Smile 2 honestly got kinda close, but they cover a nice range. The First Omen is earthy and ominous, Longlegs is warped and unsettling, and The Substance is heavy and fun. This is a very hard call, but I'm picking Longlegs. I have my own issues with this movie, like how all the plot threads are tied up in a way that feels like the tie-er had a time limit and 6 broken fingers. Still, the soundtrack sunk its claws into me. The melodies drift between harmonious and disharmonious in a way both gentle and discombobulating. The audio mixing is thick. Each track seems engineered to put you off balance, and where they are used makes all the difference. The track Initiation renders the murderous phone call and crime scene photos even more dramatic because it's creepy and builds that creepiness, but also because that main melody is so full of melancholy, reminding us that as disturbing as this sequence is, it is also so heartbreaking. Quite often the score for Longlegs seems to be doing two things at once, at least emotionally, and that's a major factor for why it's so memorable. Opening scene. Like how the first few pages of a book need to grab the reader, the opening of a film is likewise paramount to get viewers invested. And for horror, it's the perfect opportunity to set the mood and even scare the audience. I actually did a top 10 video on the best horror openings, but for 2024, the nominees are In a Violent Nature, Longlegs, and Nosferatu. In a Violent Nature's beginning offers interesting placement of shots. Nosferatu plays with the viewer's emotions, moving from spooky to erotic to horrifying, with a jump scare I can best describe as, no touchy. The winner is Longlegs. Can you set a horror intro during the day and still be disturbing? Why yes, you can, and one way is by doubling down on all the shades of white. The snow, the houses, the villain's outfit, the villain's face. Since the color is so uniform, it creates a similar oppressive feel as if it were all black, but this time it's more off-putting and weird. And call this overanalyzing, but the fact that the girl wears red gave me the sense that she was being swallowed up by everything else. Like a lit candle about to be snuffed out. The slow camera movement, how the villain is framed, and of course the sudden cut, drop you into a world that is atmospheric, a bit bizarre, and ready to get you.
Almost birthday girl. Oh, but it seems I wore my long legs today.
Best ending. Something horror films aren't as well known for are their endings, and I wanted to use this chance to shout out the ones that don't trip over themselves or run out of steam by the end credits. And the nominees are Immaculate, Late Night with the Devil, and Strange Darling. Immaculate is visceral, Late Night with the Devil is psychedelic, but the winner is Strange Darling. Also, spoiler warning for the film, so skip like 30 seconds. This ending is so simple and so good. The slow changes in the character's expression and the subtle shift from color to black and white immerse us nicely into the character's mind and make us ponder what she's thinking in that moment, and then the next one, and then the next one. It reminds me of the ending to Heat, except we're the other person, holding their hand and watching their life ebb away in real time. Are we supposed to feel bad for her? Not necessarily, but the quiet reality of the moment, the tenderness of how it's shot and performed, keeps us there until she's gone. Practical effects. The nominees are In a Violent Nature, Sting, and The Substance. Sting is a lovely surprise, not just with how much of the spider was a practical effect, but also the sheer grossness of it. In a Violent Nature is imaginative and appropriately gruesome. The Substance takes this one for both the technical skill involved, but also the variety. Sure, there's the ending that seemed like someone accidentally ordered 100 gallons of corn syrup instead of 10, but there's so much attention to detail with the flesh work, the sewing of wounds, the injections, and of course the creature design that, in context, is believable escalation. That is important. This isn't The Thing, but more like The Fly, where each stage has to repulse us, but also make sense. The mottled skin and loose patches are all vomit-inducing because it looks like real, fleshy decomposition. The joy and shock from the audience, those shouts of "holy shit," are why practical effects matter when it comes to horror, and why they're so fun. The Substance is just too good at it to not be awarded.
Hey! Sue? Is something wrong?
Atmophere. If there's one word that always comes to mind when talking about the strength of horror, other than scares, it's atmosphere. How do the choices in sound design, cinematography, directing, the aforementioned production design, and others all work to hypnotize you, unsettle you, and terrify you at the right moments? This is one of 2 categories that need 5 nominees instead of 3, considering how vital atmosphere is to the horror genre. The nominees are Cuckoo, The First Omen, Longlegs, Mads, and Nosferatu. Mads, or Mods, was filmed in one shot, and the sheer amount of mobility and action is impressive and very immersive. Nosferatu is wonderfully gothic. Cuckoo utilizes film grain, lighting, and dynamic shot composition to put you in an environment both retro and modern. Longlegs is moodiness personified. Unfortunately, these all came out the same year as The First Omen. The visual choices always seem like the best one to make. The framing implies separation and isolation of characters. The way certain shots linger increases the horror second by second. The lighting is gorgeous. Whether it's a glittery sequence of falling glass, the octopus hairstyle in the morning, or a floating mattress in a shadowy room, every scene is trying to cast a spell. Say what you want about the lore or how it's not as good as the original Omen, although I personally think it's better. At least here, Gregory Peck isn't being overpowered by an 80-pound babysitter, but the one area I can't say enough good things about is its atmosphere. It is a beautiful nightmare, and I like it.
Down.
Best movie. I decided not to do scariest film because while I do a lot of videos talking about scares, it just felt a tad too subjective to give awards to, even if these awards are literally intangible. So, okay, what horror films were the best of the best from 2024? The nominees are The First Omen, Heretic, Longlegs, Nosferatu, and The Substance. And the winner is, big surprise, The Substance. I don't know if it's the hype machine, the social commentary, or a broken clock being right twice a day, but The Substance is one of those excellent films that actually got the praise it deserved. The story concept is immediately engaging and is perfectly delivered to the audience. The over-the-top performance from Dennis Quaid suits the cranked to 11 tone of the film, as does the squishy sound design, the thunderous music, and vivid colors. And yet, this isn't just noise, isn't B-movie slop. Shot composition is artful, and the ways certain shots repeat with alterations is brilliant. The plot builds at the right pace and sets up a hilarious dynamic between the 2 leads. The Substance looks great and sounds great, and is fully aware of its inherent ridiculousness, but doesn't use that as an excuse for laziness. Sure, the ending could be tightened up, but I don't have many issues aside from that. It's equal parts wild and well crafted, and I can't say that very often. The best horror film from 2024. How would you award the horror movies from last year in these categories? Comment below. Check out this video I did on the top 10 films of 2024, and this playlist of more fun horror videos. If you want to support the channel, stop by the Patreon for fun rewards, link is below, and toss me a subscribe. As always, thanks for watching.